Okay, first I just wanted to show you guys, we're going to be learning how to break down chickens, but for cost situation, I just wanted to show you, I purchased these 2 chickens at the Seatown in Holyoke. So we have 2 chickens. They're about, this is a total weight of 7.5 pounds. It's only $1.29 a pound, so it is less than $10 for both. And we're going to be using these chickens and each part of the chicken for weeks to come. So it is a great investment and cost saving thing to invest in buying whole chicken and then breaking it down yourself. You'll save a lot of money that way, and then you can use the entire thing as it comes. And you can kind of shop around. So each week maybe there's a chicken special, so make sure you check your Big Y, Arnold's, things like that, and see if anybody has any deals on whole chickens. So I'm going to get these unwrapped and patted down and we'll begin. All right, so here we go. We've got one of our chickens. I'm just going to make sure that I pat it dry really well so that it's not slippery. So this is a whole chicken. It's going to seem very daunting at first, but once you get the hang of it, it's actually becomes second nature. And just keep in mind, as you're cutting up a chicken, if you're trying to cut through bone, you're probably not in the right spot. So there should be not that much force happening when it comes to breaking down a chicken. So the parts of the chicken, we have the breast here. There is a chine bone and a breastplate that runs down the middle, and you can feel it. It's really hard. But then you have these soft pieces, that's the chicken breast. You have wings here, and we have the legs. If I turn it over, we have, it's the back. We have our backbone. These are the thighs. In here you'll feel these 2 soft pillowy things. That's called the oyster. But a lot of times people struggled figuring out which part is like the breast front part and the back. But if you just look and you're feeling for, like, this is that heart shaped, that's the breast. So that's where we're going to start off with today. Make sure you have, like, this is a boning knife. You may or may not have one at home. You can do this with a chef's knife as well. Just make sure you're using kind of like the sharpest knife you have. So what I like to do to start is I like to remove the wishbone. So I don't know if you've ever at Thanksgiving where your guys are saving the wishbone from the turkey. I can already feel that this particular chicken's wishbone is broken. But right here on the top of the chicken, you can see, you're in the top because there's a neck and the cavity is much smaller than this end. We're not going into this end. So the smaller end with the neck bone, if you start to feel right here, you'll feel kind of like these bones inside, and it's kind of a U-shaped. So what I like to do is I take the tip of my knife and I run it along where I feel that hard bone. And I can feel that this one's broken. But now I just made a little slit and I can feel these little bones. So typically this should come off in one piece, but as I said, I can feel that this one's already broken. So this is just going to make it so when we're taking the breast off, it just comes off a little easier. And then I can feel the top of the wishbone. Again, this one's broken, so this isn't common. So this is the wishbone, and if this was all, this is supposed to be in one piece, but it kind of resembles this shape. Okay, so then you take that out and you put that on your plate or your tray as a saved piece. You can use that in stock as well. So now that was the first thing to do. So next I'm going to work on removing the legs and the thighs first. So one of the most important things is you want to make sure you have enough skin to kind of cover the breast when we remove it. So what I do is I kind of push the skin in, and when I make my slit, I make it closer to the leg side than I do the breast side. So then that extra skin here kind of makes sure that I'm going to cover that breastplate. And as you can see, if you can look closely, you can kind of see this fat line underneath the skin. And basically when you're cutting a chicken, you're basically cutting along these fat lines. So I see this fat, and I'm just gonna make a slit right there. On this side of the fat, I'm gonna make a slit. And that's just kind of exposing the inside of the chicken. So I only made 2 slits here, and I'm going to pop the legs backwards. So now my chicken is laying flat. So I'm going to turn it over. And at this point, I like to just take my knife and I run it down the backbone. And then I'm feeling for what are called the oysters, which are these 2 little pockets right here. And I'm just going to take my knife and I'm going to go kind of just make a T shaped. Okay, so now I have that T. And then what I do at that top of where it intersects, I take my thumb and I push it in, and I'm just removing, and I'm just loosening up where that oyster is. So I'm putting my thumbnail in between the meat and the bone and just sliding it in. This is kind of the most complicated part, I would just say, of cutting a chicken. But if after this video, if you want to go do a search online, there's a million ways different people cut chickens. So maybe just do your research on that. So now I'm flipping it back over. So now we have our joints that are popped. So now what you're doing is you're kind of feeling for the joint, which for the thigh joint. And you can kind of feel it. And now you can see it if I push it up. So we're looking for this joint here. So what we're doing is we're connecting with that cut we already made in the back, that T. And now all we have to do is put our knife beyond where that joint is and cut down. And we have removed the leg. And I'm going to put it on a tray out of the way for now. And on the other side, I have popped that joint. So now all I have to do is put my knife, and I'm not feeling any resistance. I'm not going through any bone. I'm just cutting right along. You should only be cutting through meat at this point. So that oyster that we preserved is here, and then we have the whole leg. So now to take this even further, so now this is what's called a leg quarter. So when you go to the grocery store, you see a leg quarter. That's because you have the thigh and the leg attached. So if I turn it over here, again, I'll see like this line of fat right here, and that's where that joint is. So to separate the thigh from the leg, all I do is I find where that joint is, and that's usually where that fat line is, and I stick my knife in there and I just cut down. Again, I'm not cutting through bone. I don't need a saw. You're just going through in between the joints. So you have a nice chicken leg here. And then you have the chicken thigh. And we'll do that again. So you have your leg, you turn it over, you're looking for the joint, and you see this ribbon of fat right here. And I'm just going to stick my knife in there. And I met resistance, so I must not be there. So I'm going to reevaluate, and then I'll move my knife. I moved it a little to the right, and now it's sliding right through. So now we have a nice thigh. So now we're left with chicken breast. So at this point I can remove the wings, but I'm going to keep that on for now. So right now we have just the breast, and if I feel down here, you can feel this bone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my knife and I'm just going to run it in one stroke. When you're using a boning knife, when you're cutting through meat, the more you saw at it, you will see it inside the meat. So you want to use nice long strokes, and naturally the knife is going to go on one side of the breastbone. So right now I went to the right, so I'm going to start that so I can feel this is hard here, and I'll just continue to do long strokes. And then I just use my hands to kind of separate the meat. And just use long strokes. And then I'm going to start to remove it from the bone. So once I hit bone, you kind of just make these slits, nice long slits, and it's kind of like opening a book, and you just continue to make these slits. So up here, the breast is still connected by the wing. So right here, when you start to push through, you'll feel this like tight rubber band piece. That's actually the tendon from the chicken tenderloin. So when you have chicken tenders, it's this piece right here. So it's still connected here. So I'm just gonna take my knife and I'm just going to disconnect it right there. And that exposes where the wing is connected. So now I'm feeling in here and I feel the joint, and I can just cut down and I easily remove the breast. So this is the breast with the wing still attached. So now I look at my other side and I'm gonna go, and I just go down, get nice long strokes. I'll add a link to different videos of other people doing this as well. I think the more you watch it and see it before you do it, it might be better. So again, I have this tenderloin that's still attached, so I can feel this almost like rubber band. So I'm gonna snap that, and that exposes. I can feel the wing joint, and you just cut down. So now I have, this is just the carcass. This is going to be, we're going to save this for our chicken stock. And now I have another breast. So I'm going to remove this wing. So again, we're looking at the joint, and all you got to do is cut down, pop the joint. So now I have a chicken wing. And this cut here is called an airline chicken breast, because it still has this little nubbin still attached. So the drumette part of the chicken wing is still attached to the breast. So when you're cooking chicken breast, I mean, I'm sure maybe we've all cooked it before, it has a tendency of drying out. So leaving a little bit of bone like this in kind of just ensures that it's gonna cook a little more insulated right here, where it's not gonna dry out as fast. And we still have the tenderloin attached as well. Same thing. I'm gonna cut through. You just pop the joint, put your knife in between, and at no point did my knife struggle to get through anything. So now I have another chicken breast. So for one of our recipes, we're gonna be doing chicken parm, and that doesn't require skin. So for one of these breasts, I'm going, or two actually, but I'm only doing one chicken right now. I'm going to just remove the skin, but you just peel it off. But I'm also going to cut this drumette part off. So I just cut on the other side of the bone. And then you can just remove the skin. You can save this skin if you wanted to make some chicken skin crackling. And then you just have, and this is very recognizable as a boneless chicken breast, but at a quarter of the cost. And that's it. And that is how I'm going to show you guys the cuts. So as you have, you get a sheet tray, and I just want you to lay out all of your pieces just so I can see that everything is in its proper place. So we have our airline chicken breast with the drumette still attached. We have two chicken wings. This is the drumette that has been removed from the boneless chicken breast. We have our carcass. We have two thighs and two legs and the wishbone. So at this point, once you get to this point, I would take a picture and then do it again with your second chicken, and whichever one comes out better is the one that you can submit in your final project, your final presentation. And then individually package these maybe in Ziploc bags by chicken piece. So put all the legs together, so you'll have a total of 4 legs, 4 thighs, 2 boneless chicken breasts, 2 airline chicken breasts, in the wings, and then we can keep everything separate, and we'll do use this carcass next week or this week for the stock.